Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Mansing. Monday night was a momentous occasion for the entire territory, certainly for Governor Jongh, who delivered his 2014 State of the Territory address, his final address in Senate chambers. The governor outlined the territory's accomplishments for the past year, but also drew attention to challenges and hard decisions ahead. News 2's April Knight brings you details.
The Senate chambers was packed Monday night, and all ears were tuned in to Governor Jongh Jr. as he delivered his State of the Territory address for the 8th and final time.
I will not only talk about what we've achieved, but also about what we must do in this coming year.
The governor applauded the Department of Education's accomplishments, praised the Water and Power Authority for the significant changes made during the past year, and the Department of Tourism and the hotel industry for drawing business to the islands. He pointed to public works improvements around the territory, as well as the new VINGN, high-speed internet access that would pay out in years to come. Vitima, he said, did a great job in ensuring community safety and security in times of emergency. The governor's good news was somewhat darkened by the reality of the current persistent problems the territory faces.
We continue to be plagued by violence that is driven by turf battles and by retaliation. As fast as we put one perpetrator in jail, another raises his head. This vicious cycle continues to challenge us. It requires that we continue to engage at all levels.
The territory also faces a looming $70.5 million budget shortfall by the end of the fiscal year, and the underfunded government employees' retirement system, which the governor says would go into bankruptcy in 10 years if the government can find ways to pump more money into it.
We targeted the cover-over program because that was the single most powerful tool provided by Congress. Our plan was straightforward. We would grow the rum industry by entering into long-term partnerships with rum producers. The resulting growth in cover-over revenues would be dedicated to the pension fund and to the deficit.
The plan worked until as early as 2008, when government income dropped drastically because of the corporate tax cuts, followed by the United States recession, then finally a crippling blow in 2012, the closure of the Havenza refinery. In addition, the Congress did not pass the rum cover-over extender bill, which lost the government at least $30 million. To solve these problems, the governor urged the Senate to approve the GRS pension reform bill that would change the retirement age and employer-employee contributions to GRS.
Yes, these recommended reforms are harsh, but meeting this challenge is the most critical is important for our community.
According to the governor, one of the ways to stymie the fiscal blood loss is to again cut employees' pay by 8%.
Last time, you chose to cut salaries 8%. I urged you not to remove that cut, but you did. Perhaps it will be your choice to revisit that decision.
The predicaments are many, but the Virgin Islands' achievements in the past year also bring hope. Governor Jongh believes that we can move forward if we do it together and make a stand on the difficult decisions that need to be made. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
Now, after Governor Jongh's State of the Territory address, News 2 caught up with several senators to get their response to the governor's statements. Most senators were surprised that the governor did not play the blame game towards the 30th legislature, but instead focused on working together. They all were very vocal in regards to what needed to be focused on more. And News 2's Shanika Robinson has the details.
As a result of the 2014 State of the Territory address, many senators were speaking out not only in regards to the governor's remarks, but on issues that they felt were important that the governor failed to expand on.
Yes, he touched on a number of things, but specifics like with WAPA and energy. That still remains another big elephant in the room. I mean, yes, they're reducing it by 30%, but when? Give me a month. Give people some idea when they can start planning. Because businesses are still closing. They can't reinvest because their money is going to WAPA. Homes. There are people we know personally who are without electricity in their homes right now with children.
Overall, I felt that the presentation, I gave his form, I gave a B+, and unfortunately, I give him an F for achievement and for talking too much about the future. He's not allowed to be talking about the future as if he's a first-term governor, and that's what he was doing.
Other senators mentioned that they attended the event expecting the governor to cast most of the blame on the 30th legislature, and to their surprise, that was not the case.
Well, I must say that I'm pleased with the responses that I've heard from the governor tonight. I thought we would get a little more harsh words from him, so I have to commend the governor for just actually stating the problems that we have here in the territory. But I'm a bit concerned about certain things like our collection of taxes.
I was looking for a lot more in reference to the administration's successes as well as its failures in particular areas.
Some senators focused on the positive, while others were not pleased about the way the governor stated some of the issues.
The one thing that he said, that he was able to bring a brand new revenue stream to the territory, which is correct. He was able to work with the legislature, the delegate to Congress, and brought in the rum company in St. Croix, Diagnostic. And that company has and continue to contribute to the general fund.
I was not pleased with a lot of things that were said in the governor's address. The governor's characterization of the legislature's position on the Jovensa agreement. Because in his remarks, he specifically talked about those senators who were against the sale. And no senator was against the sale. The position of those who were in the opposition was simply that the agreement that we entered into did not protect the best interests of the territory.
One senator in particular was hoping to hear the governor speak on a promise that was made in the beginning of his first term.
I want to know if the governor, when he's going to pay the $500,000 back that he said he's going to pay when he gets out of office. He said he made a statement on page 17. He said if you do wrong, we will arrest you and prosecute you. This should go all around, and I'm very clear on that. He was found to be in violation of law by the Inspector General, and I think he should have told the people that he is going to give that money back because he promised to give it back in 2007 when he was accused by the Inspector General's office.
Shaniqua Robinson reporting for News 2.
And in his final thoughts of the State of the Territory address, Governor Jongh focused on this fiscal year's financial challenges. He said the $70 million budget shortfall must be dealt with, and he called on senators to work with his team to get it done. News 2's Erica Parsons has more.
The steady decline of the territory's revenues have left the VI with a $70 million hole to fill, and Governor Jongh in his State of the Territory address Monday night said the government has some hard choices to make.
This deficit must be dealt with.
He called on the legislative branch to work with his executive team to bring the territory back on track financially.
I propose that if we acknowledge and accept the risk that we are taking, we can turn and focus our efforts at this time on how we find a balance of the budget shortfall we know we must find locally.
Jongh faults the U.S. Department of Interior's choice to withhold some of the rum revenues for roughly 50% of this year's deficit, since it's money the administration relies on to prepare the budget. Congresswoman Donna Christensen is fairly certain we'll know soon if we'll see that money.
Those funds are critical to us right now, so I'm hoping that within a week or so we would hear, and I'm hoping that it'll be favorable.
Jongh says whether Congress decides to pass the extender, waiting to find out, is not an option if the government is expected to run. He proposed that senators meet with him to put together a deal to cut the deficit by at least half. Most senators say they have been working on measures to address the deficit, but what they will not do is revisit the idea of salary cuts.
I do believe very strongly that there's no need to increase or revisit that 8% that he wants us to do on their payrolls. And I say that because there are other areas.
The administration have always said that the 8% salary reduction has saved the government about $29 million. But it saved it at the expense of your expenditure, your revenue. Because when you have an 8% pay cut, the economy was shrinking because you have 8% of the government payroll out of circulation. As a result of that, you're getting less gross receipt, you get less corporate income tax, you get less excise tax.
Many of the initiatives which came from the administration was increasing taxes on the working men and women, or increasing taxes on small businesses, or reducing benefits. And that's not the direction to go in. I have offered for their consideration something titled the Virgin Islands Infrastructure Reconstruction Plan, which is an economic plan which I believe can turn us around.
Millions of dollars in capital projects that were approved that never came to fruition. We want to know why. We were the first place to pass internet gambling of, I believe, 12 years ago. Why haven't we started internet gambling in the Virgin Islands?
One of the things that we have been doing in terms of coming together in caucus is to help fund the ability of IRB to go after those individuals who are not paying.
The administration also wants to focus more on revenue-generating measures and aggressive tax collection, but cost-cutting is also a major factor to get the territory over the deficit hurdle.
Reducing our expenditures, and it could also be us that we're going to be working and enhancing our revenues and being even more aggressive than we have been.
After Monday's speech, both sides are willing to take the steps to move forward.
We are eager and willing to meet with the members of the legislature to resolve this issue, and I know that we can do it.
Work with us, because you know we are going to work with you. You know that.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
And turning our attention to Washington, President Barack Obama delivers his State of the Union address tonight. He will announce he's using executive action to get things done rather than wait for Congress. Tara Mergener reports from Capitol Hill. And President Obama's State of the Union address airs at 10 p.m. right here on CBS TV2 tonight. Keeping our eye on the economy, the markets opened mixed as the Federal Reserve kicks off a two-day meeting. Angry Birds is one of the world's most popular apps, but it may be more than just a game. According to secret government documents leaked by Edward Snowden and published by the New York Times, American and British intelligence agencies are looking at smartphone apps to get personal information and track telephone use of potential terrorist suspects. The document says apps like Facebook, Twitter, and Google Maps can also reveal personal data. This is the New York Stock Exchange with our stock market watch. The Dow, Nasdaq, S&P all up. The Dow 90, Nasdaq 14, S&P 10. Coming up on News 2 and other news, a 17-year-old resident of the VI Behavioral Services, Diagnostic, and Crisis Stabilization Center in St. Croix is missing. Take a look at the picture. Officers need your help. A 17-year-old resident of the VI Behavioral Services Diagnostic and Crisis Stabilization Center on St. Croix is missing, and officers need your help. Take a look at this picture. Jalima Jones left the adult education school without authorization in the early afternoon hours of January 27th. She is 5'8", 260 pounds with dark brown hair and eyes. When she left the school, she was wearing purple-colored pants and a white tank top covered by a black shirt. Jones also wore a curly hair weave and silver hoop earrings. Anyone who may know of Jalima Jones's whereabouts or may have seen her, you're asked to contact the VIPD's Juvenile Bureau at 715-5541 or 778-2211. Detectives on St. Croix are advising the public that unknown people are using references to the VIPD to bilk unsuspecting victims of their money. In one reported case, a resident of Australia said he was scammed out of $5,000 by persons representing themselves to be members of the Virgin Islands Police Department.
In the email, both the St. Croix District and the St. Thomas St. John District police officers or office was mentioned. The Australian victim contacted the VIPD after being harassed and scammed for money. The scammers threatened that U.S. VIPD officers had outstanding warrants for him and would come to his home and arrest him. The victim sent copies of the emails to the VIPD Insular Investigation detectives, who said that the emails were clearly written by someone in a foreign country who does not have a grasp of the English language. Detectives continue to investigate this matter. Detectives said that residents should be aware that police do not notify people of arrest warrants by email or by phone, and police do not accept money to clear arrest warrants.
Recent months have seen a trend of copper thefts in the territory that has affected companies and thousands of residents. Now those that are affected have teamed up to fight back. A public service announcement from Hugo Hodge Jr., CEO of WAPA, and Innovative Companies CEO and President Sean O'Donnell, is on air discussing the challenges that both Innovative Companies and WAPA face.
Good day, this is Sean O'Donnell, CEO for Innovative.
I'm Hugo Hodge Jr., CEO for the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority. We are joining forces to fight copper theft.
Over the last year, Innovative's telephone service has been disrupted much too often for thousands of customers due to the man-made disaster, copper thieves.
Stealing copper should not be taken lightly. Our expenses increase. Cutting and stealing power lines is also a criminal act that carries very stiff consequences, which can include loss of limb or life from electrocution.
That's right. Purposeful disruption of telecommunications services is a local and federal offense. WAPA and Innovative have enlisted the aid of both the local and federal authorities in apprehending these perpetrators.
And in other WAPA news, the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority has scheduled a service interruption to a small section of St. Croix feeder number 1 for Wednesday, January 29th from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. in downtown Christiansted. WAPA and contractor Fortress Electric Crews will energize an underground switch inside a manhole in Christiansted at the intersection of Market and Strand Streets by the Boys and Girls Club. Motorists are asked to proceed cautiously in the area and to follow flaggers' instructions for the safety of crews, pedestrians, and other drivers. WAPA officials apologized and said every effort will be made to restore service as soon as possible. Downtown Revitalization, in association with UVI, is inviting you to the next in its continuing series of community conversations for the revitalization of our historic town of Charlotte-Amalie, entitled, "What Do We Want in the Economic Mix of Downtown?" Organizers say this is the initial conversation on this topic and an opportunity to create a dialogue about what mix of businesses, services, government offices, residential options, entertainment, marine concerns, and public access should be sought in the revitalization of downtown. That's at the UVI Conference Center Thursday, January 30th at 5:30 p.m. And speaking of business, here's something to mark on your calendar. The next Chamber Business After Hours will be hosted by the Pearl Lady on Thursday, January 30th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at their location, formerly Ermela's Jewel Studio, in the professional building next to the Fort Christian parking lot. Business After Hours is generally held on the second and fourth Thursday of each month from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Well, be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.